Why do you do it? Teacher edition. Do you like the little graphics that I got going on for all of our new segments right
Yeah.
there?
Kind
I
of
know,
looks
I'm
good.
fancy. I'm fancy. I'm fancy. Okay. So, again, let's just recap. The reason why I want to
Yeah.
do this is because I think there are people who just don't value all of the different types of jobs out there that create the community in which we have. Okay. From teachers to police officers to sanitation workers to small business owners, all kinds of small business owners. I went during the Christmas break, I was walking with my son in downtown Campbell, and I was passing by all these little shops. And I don't know if I'm the only one that does this, but sometimes I look at a really like boutique type of place. Like it's a niche. So, like you're just like, how many people really walk into the store?
Yeah.
And those are the people I want to talk to too. It's like, why do you do that? Like what made you want to do it? Whether it's an
Mhm.
art gallery or a place that sells little glass baubles or something. So send them to me. Again, I want to put my email up there for you guys. Do I have one that just well, it's right here. You can become a Patreon subscriber and email me. Hold on, there we go. The Nikki Medora Show at gmail.com. That's my email address, and send me ideas because I want to meet all different types of people. And if you're local, maybe I'll go out to your business and you can show me some of these things or why you do what you do. And you can show me why you do what you do. And if you don't, we could just bring you on virtually because of YouTube and kind of the technology there and figure it out together and have this conversation. And there is one profession that I've always been such a huge supporter of, and that is teachers. Teachers, I mean, we all were praising them at the beginning of COVID, right? It's like, oh my God, now I get how difficult little Billy and little Susie are to educate, right?
Yeah.
I get how hard it is to wrangle them and keep their attention and make whatever we're learning interesting and get them to do their homework. And now I understand why I keep getting that note home. And not that it's all bad, but it's a tough gig. And yet, when we talk about things like teacher housing, raising teacher pay, all of these different sorts of things, people really get into their separate corners. And
Yeah.
so, for my first segment of Why Do You Do It, I wanted to talk to somebody that's just newly getting into the profession because if I was deciding on what profession to get into, and I was watching the news and reading the headlines and listening to people chatting on social media, I don't know if teaching would be at the top of my list. I really don't. But joining me now is Ruben Connor the third. Great name, Ruben.
Hi, Ruben.
Hi.
And
Can
he's
you
a
all hear me okay?
I can hear you. You
Yeah.
sound
Okay,
great.
cool.
So, Ruben, you were suggested to us by a mutual friend, Kim, who we used to work with at Station X, and she reached out to me when I was talking about wanting to talk to brand new teachers. Now, to clarify, you can start applying to become a teacher in the next school year. You're waiting for your like kind of your test scores or whatever. But obviously, you've
Yeah.
gone through the process to become a teacher. So, first off, Ruben, basic question: why do you do it? Why did you choose to start this path to become a teacher?
Great question. And again, hey Nikki and Kim, thanks for having me on the show.
Mm.
Yeah, like for the longest time, even when I was, in the process of starting to become a teacher, I asked myself, like, am I crazy? Because
Yes.
from yeah, from all the teachers that I've spoken to throughout COVID, people are like teachers are feeling like having that fatigue. Um, I have a lot of teacher friends who are were previously teachers who left the field, telling me, "Oh my gosh, like I'm just exhausted." I was definitely rethinking my decision on starting the process. But all that to say is I think initially you have to have a passion for what you're doing.
Mhm.
And if COVID taught me anything, I find COVID to be so interesting on so many levels because I feel like it had a lot of pros and cons for a lot of people.
Mm.
Um, COVID basically what it did for me is it kind of made me reevaluate my life and how what I was doing at the time and how I was not happy with what I was doing.
What were you doing
And
before?
so yeah, I've always been working in some kind of like education, and before I was working at a children's museum, the Bay Area Discovery Museum,
Oh,
and yeah, but it was very informal. You know, it's a
yeah.
museum, and that we call that informal education. And I feel like I've always been interested and passionate about working with students in schools. And I miss that. Like I miss that interaction. I miss that relationship by working at that job, because instead of having like a connection with students year round, I'm only seeing like kids and students like just like a day.
A few
And I
hours,
wanted
right?
more. Yeah, a few hours. And I wanted more than that. And so yeah, COVID helped me realize that, why not just start, the process of becoming a teacher. You have time, you're stuck indoors. So
Why not?
so yeah,
Yeah.
it kind of helped me.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so walk me through kind of your early life a little bit. I mean, were there any teachers? I mean, obviously you did informal education. Did you always want to become a teacher? Was there a teacher that you kind of looked at and was like, I want to do what you do? Did people tell you you'd be a great teacher? I mean, how did that start for you?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure you could ask like my parents, either
Mhm.
any one of them, that at a young age, I feel like I always wanted to be a teacher. Instead of like playing video games,
Mm.
like like I don't know, reading comics. I had this whiteboard in my bedroom, where I will often like pretend to play teacher, in my room.
I love
I
it.
know it's hilarious, but I also remember printing out I used to be able to have like these student teaching like worksheets that you can buy from the store, and I would print so many copies at my dad's office to his annoyance. And so yeah, I feel like those moments when I was a child, it was always showing me that my ending, or where I wanted to end up, was going to be in teaching.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's one way it started. And then I did have a lot of teachers, great teachers, when I started or went to school in college. And just I feel like because in high school and like secondary education, you're not really able to really enjoy what you're learning. Like
Mm,
I like, and that's a wild statement. Just because like you have a lot to do when you're that age, and you're just worried about like getting to the next grade.
right.
Versus if you decide to go to college, and if you're interested about a certain subject, like for me, I'm going to be a history teacher.
Oh,
You're able to really connect with that field of study, and really just really learned so much from a teacher. And I had so many great college professors who kind of enabled me to see if I wanted to be teaching at some point in my life. And I feel like they really helped me finalize that that was going to be my career in a
what
few
grade
years.
are you looking to teach?
I was just gonna ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my license will be 7th through 12th grade.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
but
that's
I
a
just
tough
want
We
age.
have respect for you.
I
okay.
I pray for you.
Okay, so no,
We're both mothers of
I
13-year-old girls, so we feel it. We know. We're
okay.
like, you wait,
Let me
you
just say
you
this.
wanna handle our kids every day? You
Take them, Ruben. Go teach them. Go ahead.
I will happily take high school over middle school
Oh, well,
any
yes.
day,
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
you're right
any
about
day.
that. Yes, you were right about
Like,
that.
and kudos to all the middle school teachers out there. There is, because
They're
I
insane. Middle schoolers are insane. I'm just saying. I mean, I love them. I love them to death. My son, who's in this room with me right now, just like lifted up the blanket because he's in middle school. Honestly, like, but it is a tough grade. How did you decide you wanted to teach those grades? I mean, what is it about that age?
yeah. Again, and this is also relating to like how I got connected into like really like teaching during college. Just because I feel like in high school there their starts like kids are starting to find out what they're interested in,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and what they like to study. And I feel like you're able to have those longer and deeper conversations about like any subject that you're teaching. And I feel like that's something that I really wanted to have as a teaching job. I want to be able to go into those deeper conversations with students,
Yeah.
versus in middle school. I feel like it's less about content and more about just kind of like setting the stage for like like how to like those strategies of what helps you to be a better student. Like,
Mm.
like how to write, better, how to read better. That those things set the stage for high school learning.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really want to be around that more.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Reuben Connor the third, and we're talking about why does he want to go into teaching, because he's going to become a brand spanking new teacher next year.
So exciting.
How do you let's start off with some of the criticisms about being a teacher, and kind of going off what Kim and I were saying. Kids are nuts, right? I mean, you got the phones, you got the distractions, you got. I mean, it has to be a bit nuts just to
The
get their
hormones,
attention,
the
like
learning
pay
about who
attention
we
to
are and who we
me.
want to be. Yeah.
Give us some tips and tricks, Reuben. I mean, what are you anticipating that experience to be like? I mean, obviously you've worked with kids at a museum, which I'm sure is kind of practice for keeping the focus on one thing. But I mean, it has to be a different world than maybe we were educated in, where we didn't necessarily have all these distractions fighting against teachers.
Yeah, no, totally. So again, I feel like it depends on like what grade you're teaching. With middle school, like those like classroom management like strategies, like like if you can hear my voice, clap once, like like those things.
Yeah.
Um,
1, 2,
those
3, eyes
things,
on me. Yeah, exactly.
exactly. Those things tend to work, but they don't work all the time. So I feel like basically what and how I envision running my own classroom one day. I feel like respect is something that is so important to teach all across the board. If you don't have respect, you don't have
Mhm.
like an effective classroom. You don't you don't have a lot of things. So I feel like the most important thing that I can share with my students
Mhm.
at the very first day of school, um, every single day, have to respect one another, or else we have nothing to show for.
Right.
And I feel like that I try to respect my students in so many ways. I see myself as a teacher being not a disciplinary one, more
Mm.
so, but just we got our objectives, we got our goals. Let's do those, and we can do X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can be on your phone. Then you can, talk to your peer. And I just feel like setting those expectations early on and like reviewing those every single day of the school year, it really sets a precedent and kind of gets students in that mindset of respecting one another in the classroom space to
I
be
have
attentive.
I had this incident, well, not this incident, this experience in first grade when my daughter was going into first grade, and I thought this is such an important grade, right? Because you kind
Mhm.
of clinch if you haven't already learned how to read. This is where it all comes together.
Mm.
And she got this brand new teacher, and I was worried. And went to the principal and said, I don't know if I want her in this class with this brand new teacher. She goes, trust me,
Mm.
this teacher, it was magic. I mean,
Mm,
hands down, my kids will say, best teacher they ever had. It brings tears to my eyes how much she affected our family. And I
good.
feel like what we don't realize about new teachers, and I say this because you have this, you have teachers with experience are great. They know how to manage a classroom,
Mhm.
they've got it all down. But sometimes they lose the spark, right? And so her name is Miss Beavers. So cute. First grade Miss teacher, Miss Beavers. And she brought this she came to the classroom with new eyes, right? She brought this excitement, this energy, this new way of looking at things, and I think it was magic, and I see that you have that spark and that excitement to get in there and do it, and I'm so thankful to you
Thanks, man.
for making that happen, and these kids are gonna be so lucky to
Yeah,
have you. Yeah.
thanks,
And
Kim. And
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead, Nikki.
No, well, I was just going to say is that like I had the complete opposite experience with a new teacher with my daughter in third grade, and I wanted to kind of bring this up to you because it kind of goes into the next thing that I wanted to touch on, which was what you get from your school district, what you get from the state. My daughter had a teacher that was brand spanking new.
Mhm.
She was told like 2 weeks before school started that she was going to be teaching a completely different grade. So she wasn't really prepared. She was also a brand new teacher, and it
Yeah.
didn't work out for her. I mean, she left after that year. And
Oh.
so No,
all
and I
that
think
for
she's
that.
no, I think she's still
Mm,
in teaching, but I think honestly, I think she might have even gone into special ed or something like that, but kind of a different avenue of teaching. And I'm not knocking her, but talk a little bit about the support system you anticipate having because you don't get into teaching to become rich. And
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
that, obviously people make promises from the state to, local levels. Oh, we value teachers. But what concerns you the most? I mean, is it support from the school board, being able to afford to stay in the Bay Area as a teacher? I mean, these things have to go through your mind.
Yeah, no, totally. And I feel like um, basically what I experience because when you become a teacher, you have to do these things called student teaching experiences. And I feel like I did too. Um, what I learned from those experiences just opened my eyes to basically like the background of what teachers have to deal with.
Mm,
And I feel like yes, like depending on which school district you work in, like across the board, school districts are all different. I hope to work in one that really supports its staff and its teachers, but I know that that's not going to be that's not promise.
that's not guaranteed.
And
Yeah.
that's not guaranteed. And I feel like as a new teacher, you have to be okay with that because you have to think of it like running your own classroom. It's
Mm,
your classroom, and basically what I've learned from my student teaching experiences is that your greatest ally or allies um going to be your co-teachers or your like your colleagues.
mm,
Because I feel like with school districts like leadership, they get bogged down by the bureaucracy and like the like those things that like teachers really don't have to deal with. And it kind of separates them from and it takes them out of the field of like teachers actually go through. They
mm.
don't like they don't they start to get what it means to be a teacher by
Right.
working in like those leadership like fields or roles. And so that's why I feel like your greatest ally will be like your co-teacher or your colleague or your teacher
Mhm.
across the door or the hallway.
that's right.
Because working individually, you can accomplish some things, but you're not going
Can
to accomplish a lot. But when
Yeah.
you get two Mr. Connor and Miss Lee, or three teachers together, you can accomplish so much. That's why we have teacher unions. That's why we have all these organizations that aimed for helping teachers get what they need to
Yeah.
sustain themselves.
I love that you
Um,
said that because it does take kind of that village, right? And I've witnessed it. My kids, their elementary school was amazing. I made amazing relationships that I still have, even though my kids aren't in elementary school anymore, with some of those teachers. And so I have such respect for people that still go into the profession. Now, I only have a couple more minutes with you, Ruben, but I really appreciate you coming on. Going forward, working with school boards, working with the politics with parents, what concerns you? What are you most excited? Let me do this. What are you most excited about, and what kind of, I don't know if frightens you the right word, but what concerns you? What do you if worried are you most about going into this profession as a brand new teacher?
yes. Very, very big, large questions. Okay. Let me try to answer what I'm most excited about real quick first. Feel like if you ask any teacher, whether they're just starting or they've been doing it for years, why they got into teaching, I guarantee you they're gonna say it's because I want to make an impact.
Hmm.
Um, that is another reason why I really want to go into teaching, and what I'm mostly excited about to have that impact on just all of these unique and wonderful kids
Mhm.
who just needs a passionate and like just effective teacher in their
Oh, hold
lives.
on. I think your mic might have been moved or
You're
something.
cutting out the first couple words of every sentence is
Yeah,
is low,
there
very
you go.
low.
Just
Yeah,
if you're hitting. Okay, go ahead. There you go.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
It's okay.
So no, I was just saying that I'm most excited about just leaving that impact on students, and I guess what I'm most concerned about moving forward um, is just the lack of resources that we have for basically any student learner who doesn't learn like the average norm. So those
Yes.
students who, you know, like maybe have like behavioral problems or who have like
Yeah.
different learning challenges or abilities. It's really easy. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know this, but we have so many students in our education systems. It's really easy for these students to fall through the cracks, just because we don't have resources available to teach and work with these students effectively. And so I feel like that is in itself a part of the education problem today. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm mostly really concerned about moving forward. Like whether if it's my school or a school district that I decide to work at, will I have the support and the resources I need to better help and teach my students?
Yeah. I think that's so well said. I mean, the resources for those, and I love how you put it, that don't learn like everyone else learns. And the problem
Yeah.
is that we just don't make enough of it of investment in our schools, in all of our public schools, to be able
Yeah.
to educate people in the nuanced ways they may need it. And so, Ruben, I wish you the best of luck.
Yep.
Please stay in touch with our show. I'd love to have you back on.
Mhm.
People adore that
Absolutely.
smile and that face, dude. I'm telling you.
I would
I'm
love to
sure
have you
you're
as a
I'm sure
teacher.
you're yeah,
You're the
exactly.
best.
I'm sure your teachers are gonna love that smile. You're a very welcoming guy. I think you're gonna be
Yeah.
great. Best of luck.
Thank
Stay in
you.
touch. And thank you, honestly, for doing what you're doing for your community. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. I love you all, Nikki and Kim, and
Thank you.
happy holidays, happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year. Happy New Year. There's Ruben Connor the third, new teacher. Best of luck, friend. Bye-bye.